Pesma Za Evroviziju has been a game changer for the Serbian music scene. In just 3 years, it's become highly popular in the country and has helped launch the careers of undiscovered talent. But with student-led anti-corruption demonstrations taking hold of the country and Serbia's public broadcaster facing criticisms of complicity, the artists competing this year have found themselves caught in the middle. Today we're taking a look at how the selection has been impacted by these protests and what it might mean about Serbia's Eurovision participation. It's difficult to overstate just how much of an impact these protests have had. They're being called one of the biggest political movements in Serbia's history, and some have even said that they've brought the country to a standstill. Because of that, I thought it was more important than ever to have a local voice in this discussion. So I reached out to my friend Nikola, who has been covering Pesma Za Evroviziju and has also participated in the protests himself.
There has been a lot of unfortunate events in previous years, and last year in November it all escalated when a canopy on a train station that was renovated last year collapsed, killing 15 people and leaving 2 people at a really bad condition, and that was the breaking point of tensions. I wouldn't say even political situation, this is like a social situation. There's really tensions and it's all over the place. The students have 4 specific requests for government to fulfill, and they didn't fulfill any of them so far, and it's been a couple of months. It's obvious why they aren't fulfilling those requests, releasing all documentations related to the reconstructions, everything would probably leading to jails, to prosecutions, etc., because everything was corrupted during this time. So students are constantly putting pressure not only on them, but on every single citizen by blocking every road, every street.
We've also seen how the protests have directly impacted the selection itself. There's a lot of criticism around the media coverage within the country, which at times has tried to paint the protesters as violent anarchists. Many people see RTS as being complicit with the government because of its news reporting on the protests. There was even a petition that was signed by nearly 200 RTS employees, which accused them of unprofessional and inadequate reporting. There's also an upcoming demonstration planned in Niš, which is Serbia's 3rd largest city, on March 1st. That was originally supposed to be the day of the PZE final. RTS hasn't said it publicly, but it's believed to be the reason why 2 of the broadcasts were moved forward a day, so that the final wouldn't coincide with the demonstration. And as the festival has gotten closer and closer, we've started to see people pull out of the event altogether. Most recently, we saw resignations from co-host Slaven Dojlo and jury member Bojana Vuntarišević. And it was her response that I thought was quite interesting, and I'm going to read a little bit of it. I hereby apologize to the editors of the music competition in which I was supposed to participate. I am deeply convinced that the people from the cultural, entertainment, and educational editorial offices are with the students, but I, as a musician at the moment, have a big problem participating in their program, especially the entertainment one. Entertainment tends to normalize everything and make it seem as if nothing is happening. As long as reality is simulated, I will not participate in the work of the public media service.
I really applaud Bojana for that move, because it shows that she's really brave and ready to speak up. But on the other hand, she had to be involved only as a jury member, and Slaven Dojlo as well was to be involved as a host, and they're in a situation where they would work for a broadcaster and therefore gain money. And that would be hypocritical if you're supporting students but gaining money from government TV. On the other hand, when it comes to participants, they're the one that invested money in this, in a couple of hundreds to a couple of thousand euros. So I don't think it's as easy for participants to try to boycott Pesma Za Evroviziju as it is for the people from organization. So I think maybe the better option would be for artists to use that platform to speak up.
And so with all of this unrest, there's a lot more to find out about how the selection will go forward and whether or not the artist that gets chosen will have the support of the public. We'll touch on those things at the end of the video. For now, we're going to take a look at some of the artists that are competing to represent Serbia, and as always, we're going to start with the one that appears to be leading the pack.
Yes, da, kiss, moi.
Turbo Žurka is easily the song that has attracted the most attention. It has over 1 million views on YouTube, which puts it well ahead of the rest of the competitors. Lately, we've been seeing rap have more of a presence at Eurovision, at least as far as it being used as a verse as part of a larger song, especially if we think about last year's winner. But what we still don't see that much of are entries like this one that have such a strong urban identity in its sound. And I think the closest examples that you could think of would be Greece's song from last year and Ukraine's winning song from 2022. Now, even with those examples, each of them are still able to lean into cultural sound, so none of them sound quite like one another. And for Serbia, who hasn't yet been represented by a rap artist, I think that this could be a bold choice.
When I talked to Mimi, she explained this song as patriotism, like showing the patriotism to a party. Belgrade is usually considered as the city of parties in Balkans. She's talking about how not only Serbians but Slavic people party and like celebrating a life through the party. I'm intrigued. I like the song, and Mimi is, I'd say, maybe the most popular artist among the participants this year, and she's definitely considered as contendant for a victory.
So definitely going to be one to watch. The question, as always, is how is this going to go down live? And it seems that that might be the area where there's some cause for concern.
If you followed the marketing of RTS, they invite artists to have interviews and stuff, and then they do a lip sync. That's like the thing in Serbia. They always lip sync on national televisions. And she didn't have much energy, and she wasn't dancing to the rhythm. So it really looked strange for me. I don't know if she was just mimicking and having fun, or is it a thing that she cannot really dance, and the song really requires some moves, not necessarily professional dancing, but it requires you dancing to the beat.
Now, it might also mean nothing, because those performances are low stakes. You don't necessarily need to impress people as much as you would in a competition. What I do want to recognize about the song that I think works really well is its hook. We rarely have rap hooks as part of Eurovision songs, and with this one, it will be easy enough for people to duplicate without speaking Serbian. And so, if this is well executed, I think it could be a really unmistakable entry, and one that could surprise as well. Tam is bringing a song that combines a driving beat with ethereal melodies and vocals. Definitely a style that's being embraced a lot in pop music nowadays, but usually with more of like an obvious electronic music sound to it. In this case, there was a clear intention to make it sound more primitive, and when you listen to how Tam was inspired to make this song, it makes sense as to why.
This song is really interesting for me. It's like ethnic, but ethnic in a prehistoric way. Like it's not necessarily like a Slavic influence, but like some ancient instrumentation. Durum is actually a type of wheat, and when I talked to Tom, she said that she was researching the history because she wanted to be inspired by the history of our people. There was like a revolution when people started growing wheat. That was the point when they started building villages and first cities, because they were like physically connected to the ground. Before that, they were just moving from place to place, and that was the moment of the first communities. That's what inspired her to write song Durum Durum, about people being together, creating communities and celebrating that communion.
While Mimi's song has taken the lead in streams, Durum Durum also appears at the top of some polls and is definitely considered to be in contention to win. The style of song also might have a bit more broad appeal across age groups, more than Mimi's song at least, and if it's performed well, I could see this getting substantial jury support for that reason. And lastly, Nikolić says that Tom will be working with the same creative director that Constracta used for her staging, so I imagine that it will also be tastefully presented. And so with all of that in consideration, I would say that there's definitely a lot of promise this one, and most likely going to be one to watch. Vukayla is entering PZE as a newcomer. She's only started releasing music in the last year, and Mask is her third single. She's also a student at Berklee College of Music, which has produced a number of notable musicians from around the world, including some Eurovision alumni like Maru, Luisa Sobral, Marina Sati, and last year's Serbian artist Teodora. The song that she has is written in Serbian and English, and we know that bilingual songs are sort of a cliche at Eurovision, but in this case, there's an intention behind having the song in two different languages.
The song is talking about fighting with your own self, like two versions of you, a constant struggle in life. I have to say that it's really well written, because usually when you have songs in two languages, it sometimes feel like afterthought, or like the lyrics are not related that much. And this one really feels like it was written in almost single language, like it just continuation of the same story throughout the lyrics. She's a really good singer. She's classically trained. She plays violin, and I think she might have that Luke Black moment, because Luke Black wasn't popular in Serbia when he applied for Pesma Za Evroviziju, and it was a shock for Serbia.
I think one of the things that works really well for the song is that it has a lot of change-ups in the rhythm to keep you on your toes. It also manages to keep a level of intensity without being overwhelming. It has like peaks and valleys so that there's moments to breathe without losing the momentum. Given all that's been said about her talents, it seems pretty clear that this would be one to watch. Also, considering that the show has become this launch pad for undiscovered talent like Constracta or Luke Black, it would be fitting for her to also make a name for herself and even possibly come out with a win. Given Eurovision's history with the LGBTQ community, people who look at the contest from the outside often believe that drag acts are like a regular thing. The reality is that you can count the number of drag artists that have competed at Eurovision as performers with one hand. Sestri from Slovenia, DQ from Denmark, Verka Serduchka from Ukraine, Conchita Wurst from Austria, and that's it. What's interesting is that half of those acts came from countries that are thought to be more socially conservative, and therefore would be less open to something as unapologetically queer as drag being given such a large stage to represent the country. And so here we have not just one drag queen, but 6, which will undoubtedly cause a lot of attention in Serbia.
It has that like hurricane feeling, but it's probably because it was made by the same team, and even Sanja Vucic wrote the lyrics. They will be the first drag queens to compete in the national selection in Serbia. There will be a lot of controversies relating to that, people not understanding what drag is. Drag is not really popular in Serbia, and people are usually confused by them. Not being able to define what's drag, what's transgender, so this would definitely catch attention.
Now, with any drag group, there's going to be certain expectations, like a big, over-the-top performance with lots of dancing. There's probably going to be some sexually provocative elements as well, considering that they call themselves harem girls. But while their participation is remarkable, they're not really seen as likely contenders to win. They themselves have said that one of their motivations for entering PZE is to represent the drag community in the Balkans. So it seems to be more about representation than actually going to Eurovision on Serbia's behalf. For now, their song is among the most popular, and so it seems that they'll be going into the semifinal with momentum, and it'll be interesting to see how far that will take them.
Žali, srce moje, žali će i tvoje, žali srce.
Now, unlike the artists that we've talked about so far, Maja Nikolić has made several appearances at Serbian national selections, going as far back as Beovizija 2003. Now, I was curious about why Nikola wanted to include her in this video, and it seems that it has less to do with the song itself and more to do with the scandals that she's known to create through her participations.
She always has some controversies. She was saying that she was sabotaged. She was suing people from RTS, and this year in specific, we think, it's not confirmed, but it's pretty obvious, that she created a couple of X accounts and where she's like botting constantly, just making up the most ridiculous stories, like that person was entering like the store and the cashier was crying because she was listening to the song and it hit her, which is ridiculous and definitely never happened. And then people caught that trend, making up most ridiculous stories about that song being a global hit. People like coming from I don't know, China listening to the song, and she's sharing everything on her stories. And people made photo collage, and it looked as Novak Djokovic, Serbian tennis player, shared her song and said she was the winner, and then she shared that image, which was obviously fake. So that was in all of news, and like it's really, really ridiculous. And on top of that, she broke her leg. And she is now in a wheelchair, and we're not even sure if she really broke her leg or is it also for the media. I think thanks to her, the festival is like all over the place right now, because song-wise, I don't think we have many strong songs this year, and also not many popular artists as in recent years. So she's definitely the reason people are talking about Pesma Za Evroviziju this year.
Now what's interesting is that if you look at the comments below the official video, they're all pretty much joking about the same thing. Odds are 1.01 that there will be a scandal when she loses. She has already prepared a lawsuit in advance if she does not win. I would like to send her to Eurovision to fight with everyone so that we are kicked out of the competition forever. Yeah, so clearly she's got a bit of a reputation for this kind of thing. As for the broken leg, if true, that's obviously unfortunate, although the fact that people are treating it as like a boy who cried wolf scenario definitely says a lot about how seriously she's treated. I do feel like I have to say something about the song though, and if I'm being honest, it is one of the catchiest, and having only listened to some of the songs once, it is one of the ones that I can recall the melody from. Beyond that, I don't think there's really much that grabs me, and I wouldn't say that catchiness will give it an advantage in the contest, and so I wouldn't consider this to be a contender by any means. Now, as much as this selection is going forward, there's still a lot that's up in the air with regards to Eurovision. It's possible that with all of this unrest, that people's interest in Eurovision will be lower than it typically is. It's also yet to be seen how the broadcaster is going to be navigating the political circumstances around who gets chosen. So far, Tam and Harem girls have been the most outspoken, showing their support for the students. Other artists have said that they had considered withdrawing, but they wouldn't be able to cover the fees that would be associated with pulling out at this stage.
The crucial point is RTS going to allow artists that's talking about the problem to represent the country at this point. When you read the rules of the festival, we are choosing the representative of the Serbia, but at the end of the day, broadcaster can internally for a specific reason change the representative. So, I mean, it's never happened before, but it's in the rule book.
How are you feeling about these dual feelings that some people are having where they don't even want to be involved with it because they see it as being too close to aligning themselves with the government?
Exactly. Like, I'm like in between. The best possible outcome, I think, would be for Tam to win, because her song is not political as it happens with some other countries we're not going to mention right now. But on the other hand, she will probably spread awareness through the different interviews. I'm thinking that we might even withdraw, which would cause many financial problems. I hope that won't be the scenario. I really hope for the artist that is supporting Serbian youth is going to represent Serbia this year. So that's my hopes. We'll see what's going to happen.
Thank you so much, Nikola, for shedding some light on this historic moment. Let me know in the comments who you'd like to see win Pesma Za Evroviziju, and if you liked this video, I hope that you consider subscribing so that I can have you back for more. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.